Some common patterns that we can observe are a horse might interact with our heart chakra. So a horse will seek proximity or softness or connection. They will often use their muzzle at the heart, or they will align their own heart chakra with ours. We will see interaction at solar plexus. The horse might challenge or require you to stand in your own space and your own power. They might actually move away or test clarity. We might note that the horse is interacting with throat physically, or maybe hesitates, disconnects, or waits when throat is something that would serve us to come into alignment. We'll often see interaction with root. The horse will check safety, grounding, presence. These are patterns observed repeatedly in the horse-human interaction. So the core teaching of the exchange itself is the horse responds, the human feels, an awareness increases, and the vibration shifts. That is the exchange. And we go much more deeply into that in the Ethos Empowered program. So let's clarify something foundational. When we say intentional energetic exchange, what do we mean? Intentionally, the horse will approach in ways that are observable. It has markers. So first, there is a directed orientation. The horse will shift posture and focus toward a specific individual. Attention narrows. Second, there is a deliberate proximity shift. Distance is adjusted intentionally. They will come closer, generally. Third, there's a patterned interaction. There's touch, breath, scanning, sustained focus, and it will be repeated in specific areas. And fourth and final, there is sustained engagement. The interaction continues long enough to indicate purpose. When these elements are present together, we're not observing random behavior. We are witnessing intentional, energetic exchange. It is far deeper and more important than a horse just sniffing us, which absolutely does happen. But there will be these intentional interaction markers. So by paying close attention to the why and the where that our horse might be offering to work on us or on our clients allows us to examine our own physiological and emotional responses or those of our clients. This really offers great personal insight and empowers us toward increased well-being and balance, also self-growth. Additionally, it allows for the vibrational shifts to take place. We know the horse is already a master at intuitive sensing, sensory awareness, and processing. Once we hone our own intuition and further understand equine culture and behaviors, this communication between horse and human can become a telepathic type of connection. It's what leads to that deep level of communication so many of us endeavor to have with our horses. I often hear two things. I feel like there is something more happening with my horse, and I wish they could just talk. So this starts to pull together that deep level of communication where we understand what the more is, and we really begin to understand that communication on their level that we can then process and make sense of and understand and communicate back. And our horses will help us with this when we allow them to balance and work on us, and when we interact with and learn about and understand further horse culture. So ponder this for yourself a little. Have you noticed how your state shifts when you're in the presence of a horse? And are you aware of how horses are facilitating that shift? These are questions we answer in the full program. Just take note of your answers. You likely have some very good awareness already, that we can build on. We can start to facilitate these interactions because horses naturally know how to work on and balance us. This is their culture. We know that. They do this all the time with each other. We know it through the concept of resonance, mirror neurons, the electromagnetic fields, the studies through heart math. We'll note that they'll typically interact in one or all of the following ways, and there are more, but generally we focus on these four. So physical contact with their muzzle, lips, and teeth, by aligning or orienting their own energy centers or chakras with us, by holding their own meditative space. Remember the previous comment about all dozing together. Or they also will work on another horse for our benefit or for another being in their environment and for the environment itself. We delve more deeply into this. Sometimes initially they might need some facilitation in order to remember that we are humans and we are smaller and thinner skinned than we are. So as always, clear and positive boundaries are essential. And we can bring together some facilitation techniques around that. We know our horses will address physiology, so physical ailments, pain, injury, dis-ease. They will address vibrational systems, so the chakras, the meridians, the fascia, the biophotons within the myofascial system. They have a keen awareness of emotions and behaviors, specifically congruency, which we have talked about. They're highly attuned to addiction and whether we are being truthful. They also will find emotional root causes for physical manifestations or dis-ease. We know there are emotional components to all disease. So let's get a little more clear on these intentional markers. Again, we're going to see a posture shift. Generally, what that looks like is a lowered head and a soft eye. There's going to be that deliberate adjustment of proximity. They move closer, they align directly. So often they will come straight on. That alone is the sign of intentionality. These are prey animals. Prey animals with eyes on the side of their head usually do everything on a curve. However, when they are coming in for these intentional energetic exchanges, you will often see them approach straight on. Not always. This picture shows actually the curve and on an angle on each one. However, it highlights very well this focused attention where they will use their muzzle, their breath, or align a chakra with you or your clients. And then there will be that patterned engagement. So they will remain long enough. They will scan, so up and down the whole body. They may ground. That often looks like putting their muzzle to the ground and touching it. There's not an element of them eating or playing with the ground so much, although that can happen, and we do delve into that deeply. But they might return that energy right back to the ground, and it feels purposeful. Another key element is that you will feel that intentionality, and you will also feel a shifting. It might be an emotion, it might be physical within yourself or your clients. So the interaction becomes intentional and not random. We note that horses are exceptionally clear with one another. And that same clarity appears in horse to human interaction. But often in the past, we have lacked the perceptual training to recognize it. These are just some pictures of where horses might interact on certain chakras. We talked about chakras in the previous training. When we pay attention to what they're interacting with and we discover the location, color, name, and most importantly, the main function of that chakra, these interactions become very clear about what might be happening for this person, so the client, or between the individual horses that might be working on each other. So I'd love for you to just think of a time that an intentional energetic exchange with a horse just stayed in your awareness. Think back to it, feel it. Where did you feel it in your body? Did it settle in your chest or your abdomen, your solar plexus? Or did you feel it very clearly in your forehead or third eye? What did you feel? Oh, actually, let me go back to the body for a second. So you might feel those direct placements, but you also might feel tingling or lightheadedness or heat or warmth, an increase in heart rate or a decrease. And what did you feel emotionally? What came up for you there? Was there some joy and gratitude? Or was actually maybe some sadness or anger? Those are key components that allows us to dig a little deeper and also know how intentional this exchange is. And then call into your mind, if you can, what came into your awareness. Were there any images or feelings or memories? Again, those physical sensations or words. What did that mean to you? This is the level we are working at. And we go very deeply into that once we're ready. The horses don't just respond to behavior. They interact with the human system and often through these specific energy centers. So the next stage is, once we've prioritized our own self-care and growth, our presence, awareness, and attunement, once we've learned some horse culture and their method of guidance and exchange, we then can begin to facilitate these interactions with our clients. We can begin to allow our horses to formally work on our clients during programs or lessons that are already scheduled and ongoing, or in a standalone scheduled session. These exchanges and the increasing of self-awareness for our clients enhance every interaction. What's our role as facilitators? Again, it is client-led meaning making. So we've clarified what makes an exchange intentional, but the deeper question becomes, what's our role once that exchange begins? The client always and already carries their own knowing. When a horse initiates intentional interaction, shifts occur physically, emotionally, and in ways that are deeply felt. Many practitioners eventually come to understand these shifts as vibrational in nature that are arising through resonance and attunement within the horse-human field. We explore that dimension much more fully in the full program. But regardless of how we frame it, the insight belongs to the client. Our role is to remain regulated, allow the exchange to unfold, and guide the client back to their own embodied awareness. Instead of assigning meaning, we start to ask specific types of open-ended questions. These questions return authority back to the client. They prevent projection of our own. They protect the integrity of the exchange, and they honor the spiritual depth of the work while preserving that ethical clarity. What's our responsibility? We don't direct it or assign meaning, and we don't interfere with the exchange. So what do we do instead? We support awareness of what is already happening. We offer insight about the vibrational system the horse might be interacting with. And then we follow with related open-ended questions. So some language can look like, what are you feeling in your body? Where is that located? What are you noticing as the horse responds? And does that resonate with you as we share information about the meaning or the main function of that particular energy center or chakra? The meaning of that experience is highlighted by the horse and belongs solely to the client, not the facilitator, not the model, and not the system. Why this matters is because when the meaning comes from the client, it integrates deeper, it becomes personal and transferable, and that client is more empowered. So we allow their inner knowing of the client to emerge. We empower that tuning in with themselves because they already know. Again, the role of the facilitator isn't to interpret for the client. It is to regulate ourselves. It's to allow the interaction practice non-interference, and allow the client's inner knowing to surface. So the horse initiates, you hold, the client discovers or rediscovers or remembers. It is sacred work. It does require some structure and discernment and some containment. Dr. Stephen Peters, who is a renowned neuroscientist for both humans and horses, offers this quote: "Every time you step near a horse, you bring a nervous system with you, and the horse reads it, not as judgment, but as survival intelligence." So that brings us back to the element of where our own self-care and growth are incredibly important. The ability for ourselves to regulate our own nervous systems and emotional states. So let's do a little reminder of the push, block, draw, and how they relate to those energy centers. Push, it will often activate solar plexus. The main function of solar plexus is sense of self. So our self-power, our self-discipline, direction, where are we going? Block often relates to throat. That main function is communication, both outwardly and inwardly. It's also where we express boundaries and anything else we need to communicate. Draw often opens the heart. The heart's main function is love of self and others, deep connection. It's also an incredible element of healing. So this attunement allows for recognition. Without it, all of this can be missed. But with attunement, facilitators can notice patterns, stay neutral, support awareness, and allow the exchange to unfold. What does this look like during an interaction when we already have a program or lesson going on? So I'm going to just touch on some little key concepts. This is the absolute tip of the iceberg. We go much, much more deeply. But I'd love to invite you to be very tuned in or attuned. So it's essential to be closely connected to our horses and their intentions. And we do this so that we can recognize when our horses are offering to work on our clients in any situation. We're going to watch for interruption to the regular work that we're doing with our clients. We're going to watch for those intentional, energetic exchange markers. We're also going to determine if the timing is right. We're going to assess whether it will interfere with the completion of the program or session or lesson objective, or if it might actually enhance it. And most of the time, there's a reason this horse is interacting with the client in this way. So if the timing is good, we might pause the regular work to allow for the interaction. You'll watch for the horse to initiate an interaction with their muzzle or body position or intention. And then there are many facilitation techniques after that. We also can have interactions in scheduled intentional sessions. So these can be an add-on into your already established business model. You're always going to set the tone for that. So when your client arrives, you're going to welcome them, introduce yourself, create a connection, ensure they're comfortable. We're going to brief them, just like we do in EAL, on what to expect. We might share some scientific theories that we learned previously. Now we'll have them remove all of their potential distractions like jewelry, watches, cell phones. And we will start with guiding through our cleansing breaths or grounding breaths or any other great grounding technique that you may already have in place. Then you might put your halter on your horse and allow your client to enter the space. Generally, we start with halters on to help the safety element be in place. As we get more and more comfortable and our horses are very attuned with us and us with them, we may choose to do everything at liberty. This is an important note because it's very common for people who are recipients of these interactions, ourselves or clients, to experience a range of emotions that look like tears or laughter, but occasionally there are other emotions that come up as well. And in a range of physical sensations. So I mentioned earlier, there might be warmth or coolness or tingling or lightheaded or a heavy feeling or a light feeling. We're going to reassure ourselves and our clients that this is normal and healthy and safe. It is just a sign of energetic movement. You encourage them and ourselves to just let it flow, just let it be. And we hold space for this process by being present and attuned and aware. Also, allowing and non-judgmental and calm for as long as necessary. Horses are incredible mentors for holding non-judgmental space for others. They do not hold grudges, and they accept us and other horses just as we are. And we can do the same for humans and for horses. We also have that capability, especially if we are intentional about it. So then we're also going to, the same as our EAL programs, debrief with our clients about what happened, about how they felt, both physically and emotionally. We're also going to remind our clients to practice some good self-care. You're seeing a pattern here. Self-care for us, also for our clients and our horses, which we'll discuss in a moment. After any interaction, even if it seems short and subtle, those can be powerful shifts. So self-care is important. That can look like needing to stay well hydrated, follow the promptings of their body. So if they feel tired, take a nap, acknowledge and release emotions that came up, just to be gentle with themselves. They have experienced energy work and a shift in addition to some new awareness about themselves. They might feel euphoric and energized, or they might feel a bit drained and tired. So again, follow the promptings of their body. This is a hugely important element. We're going to offer some gratitude and extra care for our horses. Make sure to spend some time with them, giving them in ways that they enjoy. Offer gratitude. We can do that through words, through images, through intention, through grooming, through sweeping, releasing, and grounding our horses. Those of you in the Equine Connection will have been exposed to the Surge method. If you'd like to learn more about that one in particular, please reach out to me and I'd be happy to provide you that resource. You're going to ensure that your horses can return to their herd in a state of equilibrium, where they can also be rebalanced by their herd mates as needed. And remember that you are practicing good self-care for yourself as well. You can feel free to start this bit of homework if you feel ready. However, I'm just incorporating it as an example so that you know some of the potential next steps for yourself should you be interested in facilitating these type of interactions a little bit more. You're going to notice when your horse is offering. You're going to practice communicating to your horse that you and your client are ready. You're going to practice guiding your client and being present and still and allowing. That's the part that we mentioned earlier, where we or our clients, when we sense that an intentional energetic exchange is being offered, we'll stand still, grounded, our hands at our side. We're going to do some deep breathing, soft abdomen. We're going to allow the intention. Often people want to reach out and pet the horse, and it's such a beautiful reciprocal offering. Sometimes that can actually interrupt what the horse might be offering. And so we make time to pet the horse or reach out to them after. You're going to practice allowing your horse to move where they're drawn. Again, that autonomy and choice. Facilitating some boundaries. I have protocols around that when people are ready. And then we'll practice sharing and facilitating information for self-insight. That's going to be in terms of the chakras or meridians or physical areas the horse interacts with on your client. You're going to start to piece all of that together with them. You're going to practice reminding your client to do self-care and mindfulness after these interactions. So if you feel ready, go ahead and go practice. In our earlier training, we recommended go ahead and start allowing your horses to interact with you in these ways. Watch for those 4 intentional markers. Also watch for if you feel a push. That might be a place that you need to draw a boundary. We don't want to feel pushes from our horses. The sensation is much more one of offering and reaching out with gentleness. So before we close today, I just wanted to briefly share where this work can deepen for those who might feel called to explore and dive into it a little more. And again, what we've discussed today is the foundation of the level 1 teachings within my Equus Empowered program. So that's a 9-week learning container. It's designed for people who really want to deepen their ability to recognize these intentional interactions with horses and understand what is occurring within the nervous system, the fascia, and the vibrational systems, and then how to facilitate that with our clients. Each week we have video teachings which explore the theory and scientific foundations. There's an integrative observation and practice with horses. Those are just my nice words for homework. And so each module will have a video teaching and a homework. And then there is a weekly live, intentionally small group Zoom conversation where we discuss and reflect and we deepen the work together. So the intention is not simply to learn concepts, but it really is to refine perception and deepen relationship with our horses. And because this work is relational and experiential, I do enrollment currently by application. And really this just allows me to ensure the group is aligned and that I can truly be of service to you and to your horses and ultimately also to your clients. So if you feel resonance with this work and you'd like to explore it, you're warmly welcome to apply. And after the training, you'll see a link where you can access the application. But if you'd prefer to have a connection with me directly, there's also the option to schedule a conversation with me on Zoom, just like this. I'll mention too that occasionally someone prefers to explore this work privately rather than within the group container. So for that reason, I do offer a small number of private Equus Empowered immersions. So if that feels more aligned for you, you can indicate that on the application or in our conversation. Again, the level 1 Equus Empowered is designed to refine intuitive perception, to strengthen discernment, integrate vibrational awareness, hold the ethical structure. And this is within real sessions and deepening the relationship with our partners of an equine sort. So it requires practice and feedback and containment. That's the purpose of this 9-week Equus Empowered program. So there are 9 modules with video theory, integrative practice, and those weekly live integrative sessions. Table of contents. These are the 9 modules where we start with the science of horse language and then how horses attune humans and each other, horse culture and the messages within that, and horses and humans past, present, and future. Where does this future work go? Then we're also going to hold space for our horses to do this work. We're going to interpret our horses' responses and resources for increased awareness. We're going to build relationship, and that's helping our horse find peace in our presence for this work, which we have touched on today. We're also going to allow our horse to work on us. And then the next step is facilitating our horse in client settings. The investment is in Canadian funds. It's $1,295. I do have some payment plans and facilitator discounts, which are fairly significant. And I also have a special discount for those of you that are connected with Equine Connection and have taken this training. So let's connect if you'd like to chat about that. So again, what we've touched on today is very foundational, tip of the iceberg. And the depth of this work unfolds through practice and reflection and relationship. But that's with your horses and also with your clients and importantly within yourself. So if you feel kind of that just quiet knowing that this might be the next layer for you, I'd really be honored to walk that path with you. The Equus Empowered program does provide the framework and boundaries and facilitation structure needed to confidently recognize and ethically hold the intentional energetic exchanges that your horses are already initiating. You're already doing it. It's part of their culture. It strengthens discernment, refines intuitive perception, and deepens partnership. Gives you the language and containment to integrate this work in a responsible way. I do have a cohort opening soon, so if you are feeling like this resonates for you, you're warmly invited to apply. It's a privilege to support you and your horses in this work. So this is where you can apply if you'd like to. It's just leahdick.com/Equus Empowered application. But if you'd like to book a conversation with me, I welcome that deeply as well. And you can do that at the link here. You can also do that on the contact page on my website at www.leahdick.com/contact. So thank you. Thank you for joining. My intention always is that you learn something about yourself and your horses, and that learning will continue to have a positive and empowering influence on you, and also act as an uplifting ripple effect into the world. That contribution at large is very important to me, and I'm very grateful for the time that you have spent here. I hope something resonates for you, and that you move forward in ways that are in your best and highest good. So again, this was the level 1 of the Equus Attuned pathway. And if you'd like to connect with me more deeply, I would be grateful to do that. And this is my website, leahdick.com. Take great care, and hopefully we will connect soon.